this is so awesome. Like, this is something I want to do. And it sucked, but, I love doing it, so I did anyways. Um, yeah, so, just a little heads up, my poetry isn't as uplifting as these presentations have been today, but I really like them, and I hope you guys do too. And I'm just going to do a little back history about my favorite poet. So one of my favorite poets are Langston Hughes. For some of you who don't know, Langston Hughes was a civil rights activist, and he was a poet. And he wrote a lot of inspirational poetry at the time during the civil rights movement. And I just really liked how much power most of his poems have. And they're just so interesting, and he's a pretty cool dude. This first poem that he wrote, it's called the Helen Keller poem. Most people think of Helen Keller as the girl who was deaf and blind and had to overcome her, disability. But really, she was a super smart person. She was an activist, she was an author, just really bright. And he basically just wrote about that, and I feel like not anyone can really relate to this. And I really like this poem, so yeah, there's one. This next poem I actually discovered in my English class. So we're all sitting there, and our teacher is telling us, hey, we're going to go over some poetry about the American dream. And she started saying this poem, and everyone's faces were just dull. And I heard it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing poem. I love this. And after that, I started looking at more poetry about Langston Hughes and just his backstory. And it was really amazing. So this is definitely one of my favorite poems. Now for my stuff. This first piece is called Jacqueline, and I did some history searching stuff about John F. Kennedy and his assassination, and I looked into Jacqueline's perspective and what was going through her head at the time of the assassination. So I wrote this piece, which I will read to you. Her beauty is as radiant as 1,000 suns. Her strength is higher than mountains. She walks with elegance and grace as clouds of darkness surround her. She stares into the eyes of fear without a care. Yet sorrow seeps into her skin like the deadliest of poisons. It caresses her mind like a loving mother. The images dance around her in circles. If only she had recognized the sound of the first shot. If only she could have pulled him down in time. The nightmare would have ended. But then she falls into a deep, deep sadness that plays on repeat till it leaves the deepest hole where her bliss once rested. Not a very happy piece, but I feel like after the assassination, Jacqueline became a very powerful woman, and after what she went through, she was just stronger, and so I thought that was really interesting. This next piece, another sad one, it's called One Day. I originally wasn't going to put this into my presentation, it was just kind of a rough draft, but then I wrote a second part to this piece, and thought it wasn't fair to put the last part and not the first, so I just put both of them in. This one's basically about a man who's being sent to war, and his wife is actually sick, and it's just what's going through his mind as he's getting ready to leave, and how she starts to, day by day, she's dying. So this is called One Day. They bury under her rosy cheeks as she giggles at my foolish humor. They gleam when passion flows from her words. They drown in a sea of tears when I tell her I am to be called back to the front line. I want only to fill those eyes with joy and love once more. Yet day by day the light had died in them. That gleam that was once so bright is no longer present. All that is left is emptiness. The day comes and she is no longer there. Her body now relaxed and skin cold. The life that was once my love is now this shade of gray. As I leave, I imagine her at the end of the curve, her rosy cheeks back once again, and that gleam in her eyes I miss so much. We will sit on clouds as you giggle at my humor. I will look into those lovely eyes as they gaze at me with glee. One day. Some spelling in there, sorry. And then this is the second part of it, it's called The End. My heart beats faster and faster as I lay down in the wet, cold mud. My ears ring as shots whiz through the air. Sweet Sweat sticks to my body as I stiffen. One by one, bodies dropped, each one falling like petals on a dying rose. Each bang shook my body down to the core. Aches began to form all over my body, my hands trembled. A hazy image of her comes to me, her soft silk-like hair and piercing hazel eyes. I could feel her soft hands graze my face. She was here with me, and soon I would be with her. Suddenly, an intoxicating voice caressed my thoughts. Its sweet, soft words said, "It's time," over and over again, clouding my thoughts. It's time. It was time. Slowly, I pushed myself up and mounted myself onto the cold mud wall. It was time. My frostbitten hand let the cold rifle fall to the ground. I stared back at it while it sunk into the mud. It was time. I raised my head above the wall. Shots soared past me. The brisk air caressed my face. I was no longer weary. Yeah, so that's that one. So this last piece is probably my favorite one, not so sad. I was in English and we had an assignment to write a short story based on the Great Depression. And like per usual, I always procrastinate and I wait the night before. But the outcome was really nice actually, and I ended up really liking it. So this one's called Beyond the Hills. There it was, just beyond the hills, the paradise that everyone was grasping for. As we trudged along the barren gray road, hoping that we would make it with the little we had left, the thought that we wouldn't reach our destination creeped into my mind like a lion hunting its prey. But there it was, just beyond the hill. I could see the vibrant green peeking out of the gray clouds. I can just imagine the green land full with fresh crops and hear the children chuckling as they run around with full bellies. Hear the sound of merry songs from guitars. I know not to turn around for behind me is no longer home. I fiddle with my fingers as we tread along the dry road in silence, not knowing what would happen when we reached our destination. I turned to look at Emma, her soft crystal blue eyes staring at